I'm Steph Strickland with GeekWire Studios here at the Acumatica Summit 2026 in Seattle. And I want to talk right now about influencing digital transformation with none other than Jon Reed, the co-founder of diginomica. How are you doing today?
I'm okay. It's been running me ragged a little bit on day one of Acumatica, but that's my style of shows. I like to dig in, so I did.
Just show up, feet running, and don't stop till it's time to go home,
Exactly.
Right?
Some people in my profession complain about like, oh, the show wasn't that great or whatever, and I'm like, the show is good as you make it, baby. You got to get out there and earn it.
Isn't that the truth? I do other events and similar things like this in the space.
Yep.
You really you've leaned into something that I want to ask you about. You do a number of events like this.
Yeah.
So what sets that Acumatica Summit 2026 apart from other events like this that you do?
Well, 2026 is still kind of early on, but I have been to more than 10 Acumatica shows, so I'll put this in a little bit of context because honestly, it takes me a couple of days to really get a feel for a particular show. But in general, I think one thing that Acumatica does really well is they don't overdo it with the keynotes, because post-pandemic, a lot of vendors don't understand that we're not flying to your events for your keynotes, because we can watch those online. So we need time. We're here to educate, we're here to learn, and that's what customers tell me all the time. And what I love about Acumatica is they hit the keynotes, they get the job done with their keynotes, then they set you free for the rest of the day. None of these 3-hour keynote festivals. Get out there on the floor, go learn stuff, go meet some new partners, go to some sessions, and they really keep that focus, and I love that about this show.
It's always interesting to me that we work in a technology space, so people think, in terms of ones and zeros, but at the end of the day, it is about people, and it's about the connections that you made.
Well, yeah, I wrote a book on the informed B2B buyer, and one of my core precepts in my whole approach to customer success is that it starts around community, and that essentially, as an individual in the ERP space or whatever enterprise technology, you're only as good as your network, and as a customer, you're only as good as your expanded network with your peers, because, transitions and change are really at nonstop pace right now. And if you're not here learning from each other, sharing war stories, and furthering connections with vendors and partners you didn't know about, I honestly don't like your chances. So. Speaking
of transitions and changes, what do you think of this space here?
Well, like I said, I'm on day one, and I'm a little bit of a contrarian, if you haven't figured that out yet. And I'm not that big on, you have to have the most awesome venue, because ultimately, if you do a show right, you can almost do it anywhere. But I will tell you this, and I'll be flat out honest, I'm not as crazy about convention center shows in general, because for me, as a frequent event goer, I kind of like an encompassed experience where I can kind of sleep, go downstairs. It's like, it's easier, but this convention center is pretty impressive, I have to say. Like this is not your old school convention center where you're like walking your way through a bunch of huge concrete structures. Once I got in here, I was like, oh my God, this is like light and open. And so I'll say that I really like the lightness and openness of this particular convention center versus so many that I've gone to. In our media and analyst thing, for example, we had a meeting with John Case, and we were in the sunlight. I was like, what is going on? I'm used to being at events where I'm in some kind of like dark room, like huddled under with like, is the air even flowing in this room? Are we even breathing anymore? So I'll say this for day one, it's got a really nice airy feeling. So
if we can make a believer out of you, then we're doing something right.
Well, and by the way, also, I think the bigger deal than the convention center space is the fact that this is in Seattle. And I know Acumatica is rightly proud of this, because they built this event up to the point where they could kind of come home, if you will, and how nice for them to have built up the kind of robust community where they can fill up a space like this. So for Acumatica, it's a big milestone. So, wow.
You mentioned the keynotes and the pacing of them really working well for you. One of the things from last year and this year certainly was a focus on AI and being able to use AI in the space to provide sort of that truth in data. What's your perception as you're seeing it, as someone who's been in this space for a long time with this push into AI?
Right, so Acumatica was really interesting because like last year's show was the first year where they've always taken they've embraced AI and automation, but they've always taken a very practical approach. And last year was the first time where they used sort of an AI first terminology where you could see that they were kind of quote unquote all in on AI in a way that they had not been in the past. And so Acumatica is definitely saying to its customers, if you go with us, we're going to provide you with a lot of the so-called intelligent systems that you need. Now, I'm someone that geeks out on AI, and I happen to believe that the current systems are not quote unquote intelligent, so I'm kind of semantically, I'm a pain in the butt, basically. But the thing is that Acumatica is not wrong about this though, which is that underneath AI, if you want good AI, like the kind of AI that enterprises can trust and rely upon, that's not giving you bad information and false answers the way we see so much on the consumer search side, you need good data, and you need good processes, you need a foundation for that. And so what Acumatica is saying is that by going to Acumatica and going through the discipline of becoming a modern ERP customer instead of like disparate systems with data all over the place, you're going to get such a better result out of your AI, and I 100% agree with that. Whether you want to call it intelligent or just incredibly helpful, as I might call it, Acumatica is 100% on the right track with that, and I really like seeing that for their customers, because to get AI right is a pretty sophisticated architecture, and most customers can't, especially in the small and medium-sized arena that Acumatica plays in, can't afford that, and Acumatica's really earned that trust with customers, so I really like that about their strategy.
For you personally, Jon, at the end of this summit, what will define it for you if it's been a success for you? What do you hope to accomplish?
For me? That's really interesting. Well, basically, I'm just trying to build as many quality relationships in the community as I can. And so I have a very soft metric, if you will, which is, did I make some really strong connections? And also, did I have really engaging conversations about my burning questions? Because I go to every show with a bunch of burning questions, right? And I never get them all answered, because it's like a rabbit hole for me. Like one question leads to like 10 more, and that's the nature of how I work. But already I've had open discussions with John Case, CEO, in a group session that we had, and so starting to get that dialogue going. And if I can, successfully do an interview like this and make it relatively interesting for viewers, that's nice. But at the end, it's about the connections, and because the more you connect, the more you can learn later, because then you can call people and say, hey, what do you know about this? So it's all about the relationships. That's why I'm here.
Well, I really appreciate this connection, and I thank you for your time and giving us some of your insight in the space. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I'm Steph Strickland. You've been watching GeekWire Studios.